So I'm sitting here in my almost house. We are just waiting for the appraisal guy. Insurance quotes, which is interesting to shop around for insurance, and what the differences are. They all look about the same, so I ended up just going with whatever the cheapest one was. It's a different place than, or a different insurance company than what I have at my other place, so we'll try them out. But yeah, I've got that chosen, and the foundation is interesting. So here, I'll show you some of the foundation stuff. I guess first, so you can see, here's the sink, it works. My inspection report, he said that the bathroom water didn't work in the shower, but it definitely works. Kind of. The shower is looking a little rough. And I hated this tile at first, but now I'm thinking I could really make it look kind of like Southwestern in here. Very Austin-y. The other major concern is that there are these giant cracks across the floor. So this house was built in 1957, which means that they didn't put a vapor lockdown before they did the slab. The foundation guy today said that they don't post-tension the slabs before they go down. So this area of Texas, everything's on clay. Every time it rains, the clays expand, and then when they start to dry up or they seep through, because there is some pore space in between clays. We know clays are like very platey material, so the molecules are plates. So instead of like a sand, what you would think of with the grains and pore space in between for clay, they are more of that plate sitting on top of each other. That's why it's harder for water to get through clays. They're more impermeable, and why we sometimes use clays at, say, to line the bottom of a reservoir, because it's a natural material that does a pretty good job sealing. Water does go through it, it just takes a long time. So lots of clays in Texas. It's not all clays. When you're doing a big project, you might excavate out clays and put in something else and compact it and make sure you get a good foundation. For a house, I don't know if they do that. I assume they don't go through that because a house isn't, as big of a structure as, say, a high rise, and because it costs a lot of money to do that. Okay, so with the foundation, is that really distracting that the plumbing is not done right and it's leaking through the ceiling? And they've just like kind of gone up there, and apparently it's still not done right and it's not patched. This house is gonna be fun. And I say that not sarcastically. There's so much to do here, and I get to just make it my own little house. So with the foundation, it's not pre-tensioned. I have no idea what that means, but my geotechnical engineer asked me that today. But the foundation dude who was just here said, no, this is too old of a house, it wouldn't have done it. But there should be rebar that's within the slab. So it's a slab type foundation. There's rebars in the slab. Obviously, because of the cracking, there's movement underneath. And I guess so that you know, concrete does really well in compression. So if you're compressing against it, it's really strong. But if you're pulling against it, it's not very strong, which is why we put in rebar, because rebar is really good in tension. Tension's like that pulling strength. This is not pre-tensioned. It does have rebar. It's very old. It has clay underneath it, most likely. I guess that's all the problems. The grading outside has a lot of depressions, and so water right now is getting probably, I mean, I haven't seen it when it's rained yet, but it's probably pooling next to the house and draining under to those clays. So because the clays are expansive, they expand when they get the water in it, and then they contract. And it's happening a lot because of the bad drainage. It needs to be a negative slope kind of going away from the house. That's what we call the grading plan, and it is a very important part of civil engineering, especially site civil work. So the grading needs to be fixed. There was also a lot of trees that were planted right next to the house. There's one at the porch that was just up against the porch. And surprisingly, the foundation guy I talked to last week, he said that I don't know my cardinal directions, that side of the house, the right side, has settled more than this side, probably because this side has a lot of tree roots under it that's holding up the house. So tree roots are not good because they'll be messing with your foundation and all the plumbing and things that are underneath the house. But the tree roots could be holding up the house on that side. So the trees were taken out, the stumps were kind of removed. They were at least mulched a little bit, and that's what the seller did. And so at least the trees are gone. They're not going to be messing with the foundation anymore. But my inspector said, the house has done a lot of settling. How much more is it going to settle? I didn't tell him about expansive clays. He should have known. So I think that was kind of bad advice. But he was worried about people coming out and putting in a lot of piers and doing foundation work and trying to lift up the house and messing up the plumbing and everything that's underneath. And then I would have a lot bigger problems because you can't really get underneath to fix the plumbing. So that is something that I need to take into account. So I talked to my geotechnical engineer. He was asking me about the liquid limit of the clay soils underneath, and I said, I have no idea. And he told me in Denver or in Colorado, with each plot, there has to be one geotechnical boring so that you know what soils are there. We don't have that, I don't think. I certainly don't. They didn't even have any documents for me. I keep asking, and then suddenly they'll have a document about, apparently they also got a foundation quote, and I was like, that would have been a document you could have given me. And their seller's disclosure notice, they filled out wrong twice. Like the first time they just said nothing was wrong with the house, and I was like, there's cracks across all of your foundations. Like, look at this, nothing's wrong with the house. Like, who filled this out? And she said, oh, somebody who's never been to the house filled it out, and there's no pictures of it online, so apparently someone who knew nothing filled out and signed off on the seller's disclosure. So then they redid it and sent it back, and now it says things like there's ceiling fans, and I'm like, there's definitely not ceiling fans. So I don't quite trust the seller's disclosure or that they're giving me everything. So I have my foundation quote from last week, a foundation quote from the seller, and then a guy came today, and then the actual inspector who's the one person that's not trying to make money off foundation work. He was the one that said, don't do anything. So I asked my geotechnical engineer, and he was thinking, if you're going to do foundation work, you got to do it now before you put in your flooring and everything else. And you don't want it, because of the expansive soils, you don't want it to move anymore. So I might actually do the foundation work, but I need to think about it a little bit more this weekend if I want to take the risk of the plumbing, or if I'd rather take the risk of the foundation moving more and having problems with like windows and doors, and of course then all the renovation would be at risk because if I put down flooring then it'll crack. So lots to think about. Here, let me show you outside where all these trees have come out. front of the house, you can see where the veneer is pulling away from the house because of the settlement. And let's see. And here's the circuit breaker, which is apparently a 100 amp circuit breaker, and there's not 100 amps coming in. That'll have to be an electrician that does that. I am not licensed, and I would need permits to do that. But it could be a fire hazard until that is fixed. Here's where they pulled out some of the trees. Kind of. Trees there. It's great mulch. It is very funky how they've got 3 cleanouts for wastewater. Look at this. 1, 2, and then there's a third one I stepped over that's right in front of the gate, which is annoying. You don't need 3 wastewater cleanouts. Like on our facility site, you have like 1 on each corner or something at a facility that is like a wastewater facility. I don't need 3 cleanouts on my residential property. I don't need any, actually. I mean, depending on where all the other cleanouts are. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with that. The drainage does not all these pans are around. You definitely need those pans for the drainage. You can see the low spot here. So that needs to be filled in. And then you can kind of see here's where that big tree came out. That's cracking. The inspector guy thinks that there's moisture kind of in the front of the house because of how it's dipping down there, and so moisture is just sitting in the roof, and that's not good. So he was more concerned about that one little slab over there more than the rest of the foundation. And here you can get a close-up of this. It's just kind of peeling away, and you can tell they at one point painted the house and covered up some stuff. So that's the house. I think I'm gonna walk around and try some of the windows and see how bad they are, and that might help my decision on if I do foundation work or not. Oh, yep, this clean out got in the way. So you can only open the gate that one way. Isn't that fun? There's gonna be so many like old house charms and quirks here that will be fun. And then I'll have this big backyard for the dog to run around in. And yeah, it's gonna be great. Let me go and show you the settling. You can see in the walls. The windows, most of them, I meant to go test some windows. I think they all basically open and close. The doors, yeah, this one, it kind of gets stuck, and you can tell where they've moved the brackets. I don't know if that's for the settlement, so if that's something that's you see when the houses settle. The other thing are these cosmetic damages. Let's get a good image of this. There's some really poor places here. So that's all gonna have to be fixed up. Look at the inside of this closet. Yeah, and there's one more fun spot. I mean, there's spots all over next to each of the windows. You see it, but here's a fun one. So yeah, that's gonna need a lot of plaster work. When I first came to visit the house, I was wondering if I would just need to, once I did the foundation, just have new walls, like an adobe or something put up. Only because I like adobe, not because it needs to be adobe. But you know, it's not looking too bad. And so I think I might just repair it. Put in some spackling on some places, you know, peel it back to, you can see where there's the cardboard or whatever that is back there. It's not cardboard, I don't know what that material is. But I might just pull it back and, you know, put some spackle all around it, and, or not spackle, you would call it, just like drywall mud. And then retexturize it and paint it. Everything's gonna need to be painted anyway. So that will be something, that will be a big project. I really want to have kind of like a painting party and have people come over and help, and we can fix things up. It's going to take a lot of work there. I mean, just thinking about taking off every single one of these outlets, all the fasteners in all the closets, so I can paint the insides of the closets, all of the drywalling, retexturizing. So texturizing is getting the little bumps back on. This looks like it's a knockdown texturizer. That's a messy job. So I'd want to do all of that, and then painting the trim. Of course, before you start any of the painting or priming, I would need to wash down the walls. And it's great now that there's no flooring, so that I can come in and be as messy as I need to be, and then hire some flooring people to come and do flooring. I don't want to do the flooring myself because it seems hard. You're on your knees doing this manual work. There's these huge boards, and then you've got to cut them out around everything that's on the floor. And I find they just don't look as good when you do flooring yourself. I've never done it, but yeah, it's something that professionals, I mean, you have to be a professional in order to do well. Same with tiling. Like, I've done tiling myself, and it just never looks as good as somebody who does it all of the time. So, yeah, I'm gonna have a painting party. So come over, help paint. I'll fill the fridge with lots of food and beverages, and we can just go to town. And I've got to do foundation work, I've got to do painting, and then get flooring all before I can move in. If you've got any questions, let me know. I probably can't answer them. No, I'll answer them. If there are questions about foundation or drywalling, I'm not the expert, but I will link you for sure to all the resources that I've been reading and reviewing. And yeah, I love to see when you guys get engaged and start researching things on your own and giving me helpful tips. I think once I was doing tiling, I was taking tiling off, and I posted it to my Instagram, and somebody said, hey, you know, if you take a hairdryer to the tile, it'll make the adhesive not stick as much, and so you can take the tiling off easier. And I did that, and it was amazing. The tiling came off so easy. I was taking it like little tile piece by tile. Then I use a hairdryer, and it's coming off in big sheets. So you guys have amazing tips, and I want to know them all, especially because I'm going to need them. This is a huge project, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But first, I got to get the appraisal done and close on the house so that I actually own this house, and I'm not just like sitting in a random house right now talking to the neighbors that are not my neighbors yet. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a long project this summer, which is what I'm looking for. Yes, personally, I don't have a whole lot going on, and I've been trying to just relax and chill out, and I really need a project to just lose myself in. So this is gonna be my project. So I'm glad that you guys are here with me, and I will keep you posted on how everything goes. Bye.